I'm Rachel Martinez, 26 years old, and 3 days ago I watched my older sister pop champagne and toast to becoming the new owner of our family's bakery, while I sat there knowing she'd be paying me rent for the next 20 years. The notification on my phone buzzed just as she was giving her acceptance speech about carrying on family traditions. It was from my property management company confirming that Sweet Dreams Bakery's monthly lease payment of $3,800 had been automatically deposited into my account. My sister Victoria stood there in our childhood kitchen, surrounded by 3 generations of family, holding the deed to Martinez Family Bakery like it was the crown jewels. She had no idea that 6 months earlier, I'd quietly purchased the entire building that housed our bakery, the flower shop next door, and 2 apartments upstairs. While she was preparing to inherit a business, I already controlled the most valuable asset in the equation. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow, I've saved something extra special for you. The irony wasn't lost on me as I watched Victoria receive hugs and congratulations from every relative in Sacramento. Our parents, Miguel and Sofia Martinez, had built this bakery from nothing when they immigrated from Guadalajara 32 years ago. The plan had always been crystal clear in our household. Victoria, the responsible daughter with her business administration degree from UC Davis, would inherit the bakery and continue the family legacy. I was supposed to find my own path, preferably something stable and respectable that wouldn't interfere with the real family business. Growing up, our lives revolved entirely around the rhythm of the bakery. Dad would wake up at 3:30 every morning to start the bread, filling our house. With the scent of fresh bolillos and conchas before most people had their first cup of coffee, Mom managed the front counter, chatted with regular customers in both Spanish and English, and somehow kept track of every special order and birthday cake request in her head, rather than writing anything down. Victoria started working there at 14, learning to pipe perfect roses on wedding cakes and operate the industrial mixers with the same precision Dad had taught her. I tried working at the bakery during high school summers, but it became obvious quickly that I didn't have the same natural rhythm for the business that Victoria possessed. While she could remember exactly how Mrs. Patterson liked her tres leches cake decorated, or that the Gonzalez family always needed extra dozen dinner rolls for their Sunday gatherings, I struggled to keep track of special requests and frequently confused orders during busy morning rushes. Victoria never said anything directly, but I could see the relief in her eyes when I announced I'd found a summer job at a local real estate office instead. The decision to work for Henderson Properties, that summer changed everything, though I didn't realize it at the time. Sandra Henderson, the broker who owned the agency, became an unexpected mentor when she noticed my genuine interest in property values and investment strategies. While other teenagers were earning minimum wage at retail jobs, I was learning about cap rates, cash flow analysis, and the fundamentals of commercial real estate. Sandra let me attend client meetings, taught me how to read property appraisals, and most importantly, showed me that real estate investment wasn't just for wealthy developers or corporate entities. That first summer, I earned $12 an hour answering phones and filing paperwork, but the education I received was worth infinitely more. Sandra explained how her own investment properties had provided the financial foundation that allowed her to start her brokerage. She owned 4 rental houses and a small strip mall, generating enough passive income to take risks with her business that she never could have afforded relying solely on commission sales. When I started college at Sacramento State, majoring in communications because it seemed like a safe, general choice that would keep my parents happy, I continued working part-time for Sandra. My family viewed this as just another part-time job, similar to Victoria's continued shifts at the bakery. They had no idea that Sandra was teaching me to analyze investment opportunities, review loan documents, and understand the legal aspects of property ownership. The first family tension emerged during my sophomore year when I missed Victoria's birthday celebration because I was attending a real estate investors meetup in San Francisco. The group met monthly to discuss market trends, share deal opportunities, and network with other investors. I learned more about business strategy in those evening meetings than in any of my college classes. But explaining this to my family proved impossible. You drove 2 hours to talk about houses with strangers instead of celebrating your sister's birthday? Mom said, her disappointment evident in every word. Victoria has been looking forward to this dinner for weeks. Victoria herself was more direct during our conversation the next day. I don't understand why you're obsessing over real estate, Rachel. You're not even in a financial position to buy anything. Maybe focus on finishing school and finding a real career path first. Her words stung because they contained just enough truth to be painful. I was a college student working part-time, living in a shared apartment near campus, and driving a 10-year-old Toyota Corolla that my parents had helped me buy. From the outside, real estate investment did seem like an impractical fantasy for someone in my situation. But Sandra had taught me that real estate investment wasn't about having massive amounts of cash up front. It was about understanding leverage, finding properties with potential, and building equity slowly over time. She helped me analyze my first potential deal, a small duplex in Oak Park that needed cosmetic work, but was structurally sound. The numbers worked if I could secure financing and was willing to do much of the renovation work myself. The conversation with my parents about using my student loan money for a down payment went exactly as poorly as I'd anticipated. Dad was furious that I would even consider such a risky financial decision, while Mom worried that I was jeopardizing my education for what she called get-rich-quick schemes. Victoria listened to the entire argument from the kitchen, occasionally shaking her head when she thought I couldn't see her. "Mija, real estate is for people who already have money," Dad explained with the patient tone he used when he thought I was being naive. "You need to focus on graduating and finding stable employment. Leave the property investment to people who can afford to lose money." Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. "Besides," Victoria added, "you've never shown any interest in business before. This seems like you're trying to avoid making real decisions about your future." Their skepticism was understandable, but frustrating. I had been showing interest in business, just not the family business that they recognized and valued. My passion for analyzing property deals, understanding market trends, and building long-term wealth strategies was dismissed as a phase or distraction rather than a legitimate career path. Despite their objections, I moved forward with purchasing the duplex. Sandra helped me navigate the financing process, connecting me with a lender who specialized in investor loans for first-time buyers. The property cost $89,000, and I put down $18,000 using a combination of student loan money, savings from my job, and a small gift from my grandmother that was supposed to help with college expenses. The renovation process consumed my weekends and evenings for 4 months. I learned to install laminate flooring, paint interior walls, replace cabinet hardware, and perform basic plumbing repairs through YouTube videos and trial and error. Victoria would occasionally ask about my house project with polite disinterest, the same way she might inquire about a hobby she didn't understand. The financial reality of owning rental property hit immediately. One unit's tenant moved out unexpectedly, leaving me responsible for the full mortgage payment while I searched for a replacement. The water heater in the other unit failed during December, requiring an emergency replacement that I couldn't afford. I maxed out 2 credit cards covering repairs and ended up eating ramen noodles for 3 weeks straight to make ends meet. These struggles remained largely invisible to my family because I was too proud to ask for help and too stubborn to admit that maybe they'd been right about real estate being too risky for someone in my position. During Christmas dinner, while Victoria talked about her promotion to assistant manager at the bakery and her plans to modernize their inventory systems, I said nothing about the fact that I was barely keeping my investment property afloat. The turning point came 6 months later when both units were occupied by reliable tenants and generating positive cash flow. Suddenly, I had an extra $400 every month in passive income, more than I earned from most part-time jobs. Sandra helped me refinance the property and pull out enough equity to start looking for a second investment. My family's perception of my real estate activities remained unchanged. They saw me going to evening meetings, spending weekends working on properties, and occasionally missing family events for what they assumed were minor side projects. The financial success was invisible because I reinvested every dollar into the next property, rather than spending money on lifestyle improvements that would signal prosperity. By my senior year of college, I owned 3 rental properties and was generating enough monthly income to cover my living expenses without relying on my parents for support. This financial independence should have been cause for celebration, but I kept the details private because previous attempts to explain my success had been met with skepticism or concern that I was taking unnecessary risks. Victoria's engagement to David, a high school teacher with summer coaching responsibilities, dominated family conversations throughout my final semester. Their wedding planning consumed months of family dinners, with detailed discussions about venue options, catering choices, and invitation lists. My real estate investment seemed trivial compared to Victoria's major life milestone and continued success at the bakery. The opportunity that would change everything emerged during a conversation with Sandra about market conditions in our neighborhood. She mentioned that several older property owners were considering selling as property values increased and their own retirement plans crystallized. One name caught my attention immediately: Robert Chen, who owned the building housing our family bakery. He's been the landlord there for 15 years, Sandra explained. But his kids live in Portland, and he's thinking about relocating to be closer to grandchildren. The building's been a solid investment for him, but he's ready to simplify his portfolio. The idea of purchasing our bakery's building seemed simultaneously obvious and impossible. I'd been studying the property informally for years, watching foot traffic patterns, understanding the neighborhood dynamics, and observing how our family's business contributed to the building's value. The numbers were compelling. The bakery paid $3,800 in monthly rent. The flower shop next door paid $2,200, and the 2 upstairs apartments each generated $1,400 monthly. With total rental income of $8,800, the building could support a significant purchase price while still generating positive cash flow. Sandra helped me research comparable sales and estimate the building's market value. Recent transactions suggested a price range between $600,000 and $700,000, depending on the building's condition and the strength of the existing leases. My existing properties had generated enough equity to potentially support a commercial loan, but this would be a dramatically larger investment than anything I'd attempted before. The conversation with Mr. Chen happened by accident when I encountered him collecting rent at the bakery during one of my visits home. He mentioned casually that he was considering selling several properties, and I found myself asking if our building might be included in those plans. His surprised expression suggested he hadn't expected interest from someone my age, but he agreed to discuss the possibility if I was serious about making an offer. "Your family's been excellent tenants," he said, "but I'm 68 years old and tired of managing properties from a distance. If you can qualify for financing, I'd prefer selling to someone who understands the value of keeping good tenants happy." The financing process for a commercial property proved significantly more complex than my previous residential investments. Sandra connected me with a commercial lender who specialized in small mixed-use buildings, but the qualification requirements were stringent. I needed to demonstrate not just the ability to service the loan, but also experience managing commercial properties and sufficient reserves to handle vacancy or maintenance issues. My existing rental properties provided the track record of successful property management, while their combined equity offered the foundation for a substantial down payment. After 6 weeks of financial documentation, property inspections, and underwriting review, the lender approved a loan for $560,000, requiring a down payment of $140,000. The closing occurred on a Tuesday morning in March, while Victoria was at the bakery managing the lunch rush, and my parents were visiting relatives in Los Angeles. I signed dozens of documents transferring ownership of the building that had housed our family business for 12 years. Walking out of the title company's office with keys to a property that included my family's livelihood felt surreal and slightly overwhelming. My property management company took over immediately, handling the administrative aspects of rent collection and maintenance coordination. Victoria and my parents continued paying rent to the same account they'd always used, with no indication that the landlord had changed from Mr. Chen to their own daughter and sister. The secret felt enormous and impossible to contain, especially during family dinners when Dad would occasionally complain about property maintenance issues or speculate about future rent increases. I wanted to reassure him that their landlord genuinely cared about the bakery's success, but revealing my ownership would require explaining the entire real estate investment journey that they'd never understood or supported. Victoria's wedding. Planning intensified throughout the spring and summer, with the ceremony scheduled for October at a vineyard in Napa Valley. Her excitement about starting married life with David and potentially expanding her role in the bakery dominated most family conversations. Meanwhile, I quietly managed a small real estate empire that generated more monthly income than most people, earned from full-time employment. The wedding itself was beautiful, with Victoria radiant in our grandmother's renovated dress and David clearly emotional during their vows. I served as maid of honor, giving a speech about watching my sister grow into a natural leader and businesswoman. The irony wasn't lost on me that Victoria's future business success would depend partly on my financial decisions as her landlord, but the wedding wasn't the appropriate venue for such revelations. Dad's retirement announcement came during Thanksgiving dinner, 2 months after Victoria returned from her honeymoon. He'd been talking about stepping back from the daily bakery operations for several years, but the conversation suddenly became concrete and immediate. "Your mother and I have decided it's time," he said, looking directly at Victoria. "We want to transfer ownership of Martinez Family Bakery to you and David. You've earned it through years of dedication, and we're confident you'll continue building on what we've created." Victoria's eyes filled with tears as the family erupted in congratulations and toasts to her future ownership. Mom produced a bottle of champagne that she'd apparently been saving for this exact moment, while various aunts and uncles offered advice about business ownership and continuing family traditions. "I've been dreaming about this day since I was 15, Victoria said during her impromptu acceptance speech. "This bakery represents everything our family values: hard work, quality, and service to our community. David and I promise to honor that legacy while finding ways to grow and modernize for the next generation." The celebration continued for hours, with family members sharing memories of the bakery's evolution and discussing Victoria's plans for potential expansion or equipment upgrades. I participated enthusiastically, genuinely happy for my sister's achievement, while simultaneously aware that her success was built on a foundation I'd been quietly constructing. The business transfer process took several weeks, involving legal, documentation, financial audits, and coordination with accountants and lawyers. Victoria threw herself into understanding every aspect of ownership, from supplier relationships to employee management to tax obligations. Her enthusiasm and attention to detail impressed everyone, confirming Dad's confidence in her abilities. During one family dinner in early December, Victoria mentioned the upcoming lease renewal meeting with the building's owner. "Apparently, Mr. Chen sold the building to some investment company," she explained. "I need to meet with the new landlord next week to discuss our lease terms for the next 5 years." The moment had arrived when my secret ownership would inevitably be revealed. I could have arranged for my property management company to handle the lease renewal without my direct involvement, but that seemed like prolonging an increasingly complex deception. Victoria deserved to know that her landlord was genuinely invested in her success, both personally and financially. "Actually," I said, setting down my coffee cup carefully, there won't be a lease renewal meeting. The conversation at the dinner table stopped abruptly as everyone turned to look at me with confusion. Victoria's expression shifted from curiosity to concern as she processed my unexpected statement. "What do you mean there won't be a meeting?" she asked. "We have to renew the lease or we'll lose our location." I pulled out my phone and opened the property management app that showed real-time information about all my properties. The building's details were displayed clearly: purchase date, monthly rental income, current tenant information, and upcoming maintenance schedules. "I mean, you don't need to meet with a stranger about your lease terms," I said, turning the screen toward Victoria. "You can discuss them directly with me. I bought the building 8 months ago." The silence that followed was profound and uncomfortable. Victoria stared at my phone screen while Dad's face cycled through confusion, disbelief, and what might have been the beginning of understanding. Mom covered her mouth with both hands, her eyes darting between me and the property information displayed on my phone. "You bought our building?" Victoria whispered, her voice barely audible. "How is that possible?" "I've been investing in real estate since college," I explained. "This building was available for sale, the numbers worked, and it seemed like a good investment opportunity." Dad found his voice first, though it came out hoarse with surprise. "Mia, buildings like this cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. How could you afford something like this?" "I own 6 properties now," I said, realizing that the full scope of my real estate portfolio would be as shocking as the building ownership itself. They generate enough rental income and equity to support commercial investments. Victoria's initial shock was transforming into something more complex, a mixture of hurt, confusion, and perhaps anger. "So, while we've been worrying about rent, increases and lease renewals, you've been our landlord this entire time?" "I wanted to tell you," I said, "but every time I tried to talk about real estate investing, you all dismissed it as unrealistic. It seemed easier to let the property management company handle everything professionally rather than complicate family relationships." Mom spoke for the first time since my revelation, her voice shaky with emotion. "Rachel, why would you keep something this important secret from your family? We had no idea you were even capable of something like this." The hurt in her voice was unmistakable, and I realized that my secrecy had created a different kind of damage than I'd intended. By protecting myself from their skepticism, I'd also deprived them of the opportunity to understand and appreciate what I'd accomplished. "I kept it secret because none of you believed real estate was a viable path for me," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Every time I mentioned property investment, you told me to focus on school or find a real job. It felt like you'd already decided I wasn't capable of business success." David, who had been silently observing this family revelation, finally spoke up. "Victoria, do you understand what this means for the bakery?" She looked at him blankly, still processing the fundamental shift in her understanding of our family dynamics. "It means you have a landlord who will never raise your rent arbitrarily, who understands the business, and who wants you to succeed," he continued. "Rachel just gave you the kind of security that most small business owners can only dream about." His perspective helped Victoria begin to see past the shock of my deception toward the practical implications of the situation. Our family business now had a foundation of stability that would allow for long-term planning and growth without the typical concerns about landlord relations or unexpected rent increases. "But why didn't you tell us?" she asked again, her voice containing less anger and more genuine confusion. "We could have been celebrating your success instead of worrying about your future." "Because you never asked about the details," I replied. "You knew I worked in real estate and attended investor meetings, but you assumed it was all theoretical. When I tried to explain specific deals or market analysis, you changed the subject or suggested I focus on more practical concerns." Dad was studying my phone screen with his reading glasses, examining the property details with the careful attention he usually reserved for bakery financial statements. "These numbers," he said slowly, This building generates almost $90,000 per year in rental income? Yes, I confirmed. And the bakery is the anchor tenant that makes the other units more valuable. Your business success directly benefits my investment returns. The conversation continued for another 2 hours as my family gradually absorbed the reality of my real estate portfolio and its implications for our relationships. Victoria's hurt about the secrecy slowly gave way to curiosity about how I'd managed to build such a substantial business while appearing to drift through college and early adulthood. Mom wanted to understand the timeline of my investments and how I'd learned the skills necessary to evaluate and manage properties. Dad focused on the financial mechanics, asking detailed questions about loan structures, cash flow analysis, and tax implications that demonstrated a level of business sophistication I'd never seen from him. I judged your unconventional path. Instead of trying to understand it, he admitted near the end of our conversation. I assumed that because real estate seemed risky and complex, you were making poor decisions. I should have asked more questions and listened better. Victoria's perspective evolved most dramatically as she began to understand how my building ownership could benefit her bakery operations. We've been talking about expanding into catering and adding a coffee bar, she said, but we've always worried about making expensive improvements to a space we don't own. Now we can invest in long-term renovations without worrying about lease uncertainty. The family dynamic had shifted permanently, though it took several weeks for everyone to adjust to the new reality. Victoria and I began meeting regularly to discuss building maintenance, potential improvements, and coordination between my role as landlord and her role as tenant. These conversations evolved into broader discussions about business strategy and long-term planning that we'd never had before. Dad asked to review my property portfolio in detail, approaching my real estate investments with the same analytical mindset he applied to bakery operations. His eventual assessment was both surprising and gratifying. You've built something more substantial and diversified than most people achieve in an entire career. I'm proud of what you've accomplished, and I'm sorry I didn't recognize it sooner. The experience taught our entire family that success doesn't always follow predictable patterns or announce itself in obvious ways. Sometimes the family member who seems least focused on traditional achievement is actually building the foundation that makes everyone else's dreams more secure and attainable. Victoria and I now operate as true partners in different aspects of the same ecosystem. She manages the bakery operations while I handle property-related decisions and expansion planning. We've already started discussing the possibility of purchasing additional buildings that could house new bakery locations, combining her operational expertise with my real estate investment capabilities. 6 months after my revelation, our relationship is stronger than it's ever been, built on mutual respect for each other's different but complementary skills. Victoria admits that inheriting the bakery feels more exciting now that she knows the building provides a stable foundation for growth rather than a constant source of uncertainty about lease renewals and rent increases. The greatest lesson from this experience is that family support doesn't always look the way you expect it to. Sometimes the best way to help your family achieve their dreams is to quietly build the infrastructure that makes their success more likely, even if they don't. Realize you're doing it? The validation I'd been seeking from my family became less important once I learned to believe in my own vision and execute it consistently over time. Looking back, I understand why my family initially dismissed my real estate interests. From their perspective, I was a college student with no business experience talking about investment strategies that seemed far beyond my capabilities. Their skepticism came from genuine concern for my financial security rather than deliberate attempts to undermine my confidence. But I also learned that persistence and quiet execution often speak louder than explanations or justifications. By focusing on building my portfolio, rather than convincing others of its validity, I created undeniable evidence of success that eventually spoke for itself. The building ownership revelation transformed our family's understanding of success and achievement. But more importantly, it opened new channels of communication and collaboration that had been missing from our relationships. Victoria and I now consult each other on major decisions, combining her operational insights with my financial analysis to make better choices for both our businesses. Our parents have become genuinely interested in real estate investment, asking questions about market trends and property values with the same enthusiasm they once reserved for bakery recipes and customer service strategies. They've even started considering their own investment opportunities, using the knowledge I've shared to evaluate potential rental properties near their retirement home in Arizona. The story continues to unfold as Victoria and I explore new ways to combine our different strengths. We're currently analyzing the feasibility of purchasing a larger building that could house an expanded bakery operation, additional retail tenants, and more residential units. The collaboration feels natural and productive in ways that our previous family dynamic never allowed. Sometimes the greatest gift you can give your family is the security and opportunity that comes from quietly building something substantial behind the scenes. The recognition and celebration are nice when they finally come, but the real satisfaction lies in knowing that your work creates a foundation for everyone else's success, whether they realize it or not. The weeks following my revelation about owning the bakery building transformed our family dynamics in ways I hadn't anticipated. Victoria's initial shock gradually evolved into something more complex as she began processing the practical implications of having her younger sister as her landlord. The conversations that followed were awkward at first, filled with long pauses and careful word choices as we all navigated this new reality. Victoria approached me 3 days after the dinner revelation, finding me in my apartment reviewing financial statements for my property portfolio. Her expression was serious but not hostile, suggesting she'd been thinking carefully about our situation rather than simply reacting emotionally. "I need to understand how this changes things between us," she said, settling into the chair across from my small dining table that doubled as my home office. "Are you going to want to be involved in bakery decisions now that you own the building? Will this affect our lease terms or rental agreements?" Her questions were practical and businesslike, which I appreciated. Victoria had always been direct when it came to operational matters, and treating our new landlord-tenant relationship as a business issue rather than a family drama seemed like the healthiest approach. "Nothing changes operationally," I assured her. "My property management company will continue handling the administrative aspects of rent collection and maintenance coordination. You'll still have the same point of contact for any building-related issues, and your lease terms remain exactly what they were under Mr. Chen's ownership." She nodded slowly, though I could see she was still processing the broader implications. "But what about future decisions? If we want to renovate the kitchen or expand into the adjacent space, do we need to discuss those plans with you personally now?" "We should definitely discuss major changes," I replied, "but not because I want to control your business decisions. Because I want to make sure any improvements we make benefit both the bakery's operations and the building's long-term value. We're partners now in ways we never were before." This conversation established the foundation for how we would handle our overlapping business interests moving forward. Victoria seemed relieved that I wasn't planning to interfere with day-to-day bakery operations, while I was grateful that she was approaching the situation with practical considerations rather than letting family emotions complicate our professional relationship. The broader family's adjustment process proved more challenging than Victoria's individual response. Mom struggled with the realization that she'd fundamentally misunderstood my career path and financial capabilities for several years. During a private conversation while we prepared dinner together the following weekend, she voiced concerns that went beyond simple surprise about my real estate success. "I keep thinking about all the times I worried about your future," she said, chopping vegetables with more force than necessary. "All those conversations where Dad and I discussed whether you were being responsible enough about your career plans. We were treating you like a child who needed guidance when you were actually building something more substantial than we realized." Her admission contained both pride and regret, emotions that seemed difficult for her to reconcile. I understood her perspective because I'd experienced similar conflicts about maintaining my secrecy, while watching my family worry unnecessarily about my financial stability. "You were being good parents," I told her. "You saw me working part-time and attending evening meetings instead of following a traditional career path, and you worried because you love me. I don't blame you for not understanding something I never properly explained." "But that's just it," she replied, setting down her knife and looking directly at me. "You did try to explain. You talked about real estate investing and property analysis, and we dismissed it because it seemed too complicated or risky for someone your age. We should have listened better instead of assuming we knew what was best for your future." This acknowledgement meant more to me than I'd expected. The validation wasn't about proving my family wrong or demonstrating my superior business judgment. It was about finally being seen and understood as someone capable of making informed decisions about complex financial matters. Dad's process of understanding and acceptance followed a different timeline and approach. Rather than discussing emotions or relationship dynamics, he focused intensively on the technical aspects of my real estate portfolio. He requested detailed information about my properties, studying rental income statements, mortgage terms, and cash flow projections with the same analytical attention he applied to bakery financial planning. His questions revealed both genuine curiosity and a desire to understand how I'd learned to evaluate investment opportunities. "Where did you acquire the knowledge to analyze commercial properties?" he asked during one of our review sessions. "These financial models are more sophisticated than what most small business owners use." I explained my mentorship relationship with Sandra Henderson and the education I'd received through real estate investment groups and industry publications. Dad listened intently, occasionally asking follow-up questions about specific analytical methods or market research techniques. "I've been managing a small business for over 20 years, he said eventually. "But I never understood that real estate investment required this level of financial analysis. I thought it was mostly about having enough money to buy properties and hoping they increased in value over time." His comment highlighted one of the fundamental misunderstandings that had shaped our family's perception of my career interests. They'd viewed real estate investment as speculation or gambling, rather than recognizing it as a legitimate business discipline requiring specific skills and analytical capabilities. The revelation of my building ownership also affected Victoria's relationship with David in ways that became apparent over the following weeks. David had always been supportive of Victoria's bakery career, but he'd occasionally expressed concerns about the financial uncertainty that came with operating a business in leased space. The knowledge that Victoria's sister owned their building eliminated one of his primary worries about their long-term financial security. "This changes everything about our 5-year planning," he told me during a family barbecue, where we found ourselves discussing business strategy while Victoria and Mom debated catering menu options. "We've been conservative about investing in equipment upgrades because we never knew if a rent increase might force us to relocate. Now we can think about improvements as genuine investments rather than potential losses." His perspective helped me understand how my building ownership could benefit Victoria's business in ways I hadn't fully considered. The security of knowing their landlord was genuinely invested in their success would allow them to make operational decisions based on business merit rather than lease uncertainty. The first practical test of our new dynamic came when Victoria approached me about renovating the bakery's customer seating area. The current setup included only 4 small tables, limiting their ability to serve customers who wanted to eat fresh pastries with coffee rather than taking everything to go. Expanding the seating area would require reconfiguring the space and potentially combining some square footage from the adjacent flower shop. Under our previous lease arrangement, this kind of renovation would have been impossible, Victoria explained as we walked through the building together, measuring spaces and discussing potential layouts. Mr. Chen was a nice landlord, but he never would have agreed to structural changes that involved coordination between different tenants. The flower shop owner, Mrs. Liu, had been considering downsizing her retail space anyway as more of her Business shifted to special event arrangements that didn't require extensive showroom displays. After discussions with all parties involved, we developed a plan that would allow the bakery to expand while providing Mrs. Liu with a smaller, more efficient space that better suited her evolving business model. The renovation planning process gave Victoria and me our first opportunity to collaborate as business partners, rather than simply sisters with different career paths. Her operational expertise combined with my understanding of building systems and long-term property value created a more comprehensive approach to space planning than either of us could have achieved independently. I never realized how much landlord cooperation could enhance business operations, Victoria said as we reviewed architectural drawings for the proposed changes. When you're a tenant, you're always working around building limitations. When you're planning with the building owner, you can optimize everything together. The renovation project also provided Dad with concrete evidence of how my real estate ownership could benefit our family business. Rather than viewing my investments as separate from family interests, he began to see how property ownership and business operations could work together synergistically. "You've created something more valuable than just rental income," he observed, while reviewing our expansion plans. "You've given Victoria the kind of operational flexibility that most restaurant owners spend years trying to negotiate with reluctant landlords." His recognition felt particularly meaningful because it demonstrated understanding of the strategic thinking behind my property investments rather than simply acknowledging their financial success. The building purchase hadn't been just about generating rental income. It had been about creating a foundation that could support long-term business growth and family security. The expansion project moved forward through the spring months, with construction beginning during the bakery's slower period after Easter. Victoria managed the operational challenges of maintaining business during renovation, while I coordinated with contractors and handled building permit requirements. Our collaboration developed naturally as we each focused on areas where our expertise was strongest. Working together revealed aspects of Victoria's business capabilities that I'd never fully appreciated. Her ability to maintain customer service quality while managing construction disruption, coordinate with suppliers around delivery timing challenges, and adapt daily operations to changing space configurations demonstrated operational skills that went far beyond what I'd observed during casual family visits to the bakery. "You're really good at this," I told her one afternoon as she expertly managed a situation where the delivery truck arrived early while contractors were still using the back entrance for equipment access. "I mean, I always knew you were competent, but watching you handle all these moving pieces simultaneously is impressive." Her pleased smile suggested that my recognition meant something significant to her. Perhaps she'd been as uncertain about my respect for her business abilities as I'd been about family acknowledgement of my real estate success. The renovation completion in June marked a milestone in both our business relationship and our personal dynamic. The expanded seating area looked professional and inviting, with new lighting that showcased the bakery's display cases and comfortable furniture that encouraged customers to linger over coffee and conversation. The opening day brought steady customers throughout the morning, many commenting positively on the improved atmosphere and additional seating options. "This feels like a real cafe now instead of just a bakery with a few chairs," said Mrs. Rodriguez, one of our longest-standing regular customers. "I can actually meet friends here for coffee without worrying about finding a place to sit." The positive customer response validated our renovation decisions and demonstrated how property improvements could directly enhance business operations. Victoria's revenue increased noticeably within the first month as customers stayed longer and ordered additional items during extended visits. More importantly, the project's success established a template for future collaboration between my property management responsibilities and Victoria's operational needs. We'd proven that we could work together effectively on complex projects. That required coordination between different areas of expertise. The summer months brought new challenges as tourism increased, and the bakery's expanded capacity attracted larger crowds during peak hours. Victoria hired 2 additional part-time employees to handle the increased customer volume, while I invested in upgraded electrical systems to support additional equipment in the kitchen. These operational expansions required ongoing coordination between us, but the process had become more natural and efficient as we developed better communication patterns. Victoria would identify operational needs or opportunities. I would evaluate them from a building and financial perspective, and we would make decisions together based on what made sense for both the business and the property. We've become a pretty effective team, Victoria mentioned during one of our weekly planning meetings that had evolved from necessity into routine. I never expected that having you as my landlord would actually improve business decision-making, but it really has. Her observation highlighted how our relationship had evolved beyond the simple landlord-tenant dynamic we'd initially anticipated. We were functioning more like business partners with complementary responsibilities than like family members trying to keep business and personal relationships separate. The success of our collaboration began attracting attention from other family members who were observing our partnership with interest and perhaps some envy. Uncle Roberto, who managed a small auto repair shop, asked detailed questions about how property ownership had enhanced the bakery's operations. Cousin Elena, who was considering opening her own boutique, wanted to understand whether real estate investment might provide similar advantages for retail businesses. It seems like Rachel figured out something important about controlling the fundamentals of business operations, Uncle Roberto commented during a family gathering where several relatives were discussing their own entrepreneurial interests. When you own the building, you control your own destiny instead of depending on someone else's decisions about your future. His insight captured one of the key advantages of real estate investment that I'd understood intellectually, but was now experiencing practically. Building ownership provided security and flexibility that enhanced every other business decision Victoria made. She could invest in permanent improvements, plan for long-term growth, and adapt her operations without constantly worrying about lease restrictions or landlord approval. The financial benefits were equally significant, but less visible to outside observers. The building's rental income provided me with steady cash flow that supported additional investments, while the bakery's success as an anchor tenant enhanced the property's overall value. Victoria's business growth directly benefited my investment returns, creating aligned incentives that would have been impossible under a traditional landlord-tenant relationship. By late summer, our collaboration had become so natural that other family members sometimes forgot we had separate business roles. During conversations about bakery plans or building improvements, relatives would address questions to whichever of us was present, assuming we were equally informed about all aspects of the operation. Rachel, when is Victoria planning to add the Sunday brunch menu? Aunt Carmen asked during a family barbecue, apparently unaware that menu planning fell entirely within Victoria's operational responsibilities. Victoria handles all the food service decisions, I replied. But I know she's been testing recipes and evaluating kitchen equipment needs for expanded weekend service. These small interactions reflected how our partnership had evolved into something more integrated than either of us had originally anticipated. While we maintained clear boundaries between property management and business operations, we'd developed enough mutual understanding that we could speak knowledgeably about each other's areas of responsibility. The success of our working relationship also influenced how other family members viewed both of our professional capabilities. Dad began consulting both of us about his own retirement planning, recognizing that our combined expertise in real estate and business operations provided valuable perspectives on his financial decisions. I've been thinking about selling the bakery building and equipment separately, he mentioned during one of our family dinners. But after watching how well the integrated approach works for you two, I'm wondering if keeping everything together might provide better long-term value. His comment demonstrated how our collaboration had shifted family perceptions about business strategy and property ownership. Rather than viewing real estate and business operations as separate considerations, Dad was beginning to understand how they could work together synergistically. Mom's perspective had evolved similarly as she observed the practical benefits of our partnership. Her initial concerns about family relationships affecting business decisions had given way to appreciation for how shared interests could actually strengthen both professional and personal connections. Watching you girls work together has been one of the most pleasant surprises of this whole situation, she told me during a private conversation. I worried that business relationships might complicate your sisterly bond, but it seems to have given you new ways to support and understand each other. Her observation was accurate. Victoria and I had developed a deeper mutual respect through our business collaboration than we'd ever achieved through purely personal interactions. Understanding each other's professional capabilities and challenges had enhanced our relationship in ways that family activities alone never could have accomplished. The autumn months brought new opportunities as several other property owners in our neighborhood began considering sales or development projects. Sandra Henderson reached out about a mixed-use building 2 blocks from the bakery that included retail space and apartments, suggesting it might complement my existing portfolio while providing potential expansion opportunities for Victoria's business. The location would be perfect for a second bakery location, Victoria said when I mentioned the opportunity. We're turning away catering orders because our current kitchen capacity limits how much we can produce for special events. A second location with dedicated commercial kitchen space could handle the overflow while serving a different neighborhood demographic. Her immediate strategic thinking about expansion opportunities demonstrated how our collaboration had enhanced both of our business perspectives. Victoria was thinking more broadly about growth possibilities, while I was considering property investments in terms of their operational synergies rather than simply financial returns. The potential second location represented a natural evolution of our partnership, but it also raised new questions about how to structure more complex business relationships. Would Victoria lease space in my second building, or should we consider some form of joint ownership that would align our interests even more directly? We should probably talk to lawyers and accountants about the best way to structure expansion projects, I suggested. There might be tax advantages or liability protections we should consider as our businesses become more intertwined. Victoria nodded thoughtfully. And we should make sure any new arrangements don't create problems for David or affect our family relationships if business issues arise. Her concern about protecting family dynamics while pursuing business opportunities reflected the lessons we'd both learned about balancing professional and personal considerations. Our current collaboration worked well, partly because we'd established clear boundaries and communication patterns that respected both business needs and family relationships. The conversations about potential expansion continued through the fall months as we researched the second property, analyzed market conditions, and discussed various partnership structures with professional advisors. The process revealed how much our business relationship had matured since the initial revelation about my building ownership. We were no longer simply sisters trying to figure out how to handle an unexpected landlord-tenant situation. We'd evolved into business partners who happened to be family members, with complementary skills and aligned interests that created opportunities neither of us could have pursued independently. The year-end financial analysis provided concrete evidence of how successful our collaboration had become. The bakery's revenue had increased by 38% since the seating area expansion, while customer satisfaction scores and repeat business metrics showed consistent improvement. My building's occupancy rate remained at 100% with waiting lists for both the retail spaces and residential units. More significantly, our combined businesses had created value that exceeded what either operation could have achieved separately. Victoria's success as a tenant enhanced my property values, while my building ownership provided her with operational advantages that competitors in leased spaces couldn't match. "We've created something pretty special here," Victoria said as we reviewed the year's achievements during our final planning meeting of December. I never imagined that having my sister as my landlord would become one of the best business decisions I never made. Her comment captured the unexpected nature of how our relationship had evolved. Neither of us had planned for this collaboration, but the circumstances had created opportunities that we'd learned to leverage effectively through trial, error, and gradually improving communication. The success of our first year working together established a foundation for more ambitious projects and deeper integration of our business interests. As we began planning for the following year, both of us felt confident that our partnership model could support whatever challenges or opportunities might arise. The evening when we signed the preliminary agreement for the second building marked a milestone in both our professional relationship and our personal growth. We were no longer the sisters who had struggled to understand each other's career choices and life priorities. We'd become business partners whose different strengths created advantages that neither could have achieved independently. Looking back on the months since my building ownership revelation, the most significant change hadn't been in our business results, though those were certainly impressive. The real transformation had been in our understanding of each other as capable professionals whose different approaches to success could complement rather than compete with each other. Victoria had gained a deeper appreciation for strategic thinking and long-term planning, while I'd developed better understanding of operational excellence and customer service. Our collaboration had made both of us better business leaders while strengthening our personal relationship in ways we'd never anticipated. The future held exciting possibilities as we continued exploring how to combine our different expertise areas in service of shared goals. The second bakery location was just the beginning of what could become a more comprehensive approach to building long-term family wealth through integrated real estate and business operations. As we prepared to embark on our next expansion project, both Victoria and I felt grateful for the unexpected path that had brought us to this point. The secret building ownership that had once seemed like a barrier to family understanding had become the foundation for a partnership that was enhancing both our professional success and our personal relationship. The journey from hidden real estate investor to open business partner had taught me valuable lessons about communication, family dynamics, and the importance of finding ways to align different interests in service of shared success. Most importantly, it had shown me that family support could take many different forms, including business partnerships that create mutual benefits while respecting individual strengths and independence. The challenges of maintaining my real estate portfolio while navigating the new family dynamics became apparent within weeks of revealing my building ownership. What had seemed like a simple transition from secret landlord to open family business partner proved far more complex when practical issues arose that required both professional judgment and family diplomacy. The first major test came when Mrs. Liu, our flower shop tenant, experienced a significant water leak in her storage area that damaged thousands of dollars worth of inventory. The pipe burst occurred on a Sunday evening when no one was in the building, and by Monday morning, water had seeped through the floor into the bakery's basement storage area where Victoria kept extra flour and packaging supplies. My property insurance would cover the building repairs, but the business interruption and inventory losses fell into a gray area that required careful handling. Under normal landlord-tenant relationships, each business would file claims with their own insurance companies and work through the resolution independently. However, with Victoria as my sister and Mrs. Liu as a long-term tenant who had been nothing but reliable, the situation demanded a more collaborative approach. "We need to make this right for both businesses," I told my property manager when she called to report the damage. "Mrs. Liu has been an ideal tenant for 8 years, and obviously Victoria's business affects our family directly. Let's figure out how to minimize their losses even if it costs more than the standard insurance." Settlement. The resolution process took 3 weeks of coordination between insurance adjusters, restoration contractors, and both affected businesses. I ended up paying out of pocket for expedited repairs and temporary storage solutions that allowed both the flower shop and bakery to resume normal operations quickly. The total cost exceeded $12,000 beyond what insurance covered, but maintaining good relationships with reliable tenants was worth the investment. Victoria's reaction to how I handled the water damage situation revealed aspects of landlord-tenant dynamics that we'd never discussed during our initial conversations about our new business relationship. She'd apparently been worried that family connections might make it harder for her to receive fair treatment during building emergencies, fearing that I might expect her to be more understanding or accommodating than other tenants would be required to be. I was prepared to argue with you about repair timelines and business interruption costs, she admitted after the situation was resolved. I thought having my sister as my landlord might mean getting less professional service, not better, service than we ever received from Mr. Chen. Her concern highlighted the complexity of mixing family relationships with business transactions. While I'd been focused on the advantages of having a landlord who genuinely cared about tenant success, Victoria had been considering the potential disadvantages of family expectations affecting professional service standards. The water damage incident established important precedents for how we would handle future building issues. Victoria learned that I was committed to maintaining professional standards regardless of family relationships, while I gained better understanding of her concerns about receiving equal treatment compared to other tenants. Mrs. Liu's gratitude for the expedited repairs and financial assistance strengthened our tenant relationships in ways that extended beyond simple business considerations. She began recommending the building to other small business owners looking for retail space, praising both the physical facilities and the landlord's responsiveness to tenant needs. Her positive references led to inquiries about space availability that I might not have received through traditional marketing channels. The incident also provided Dad with concrete evidence of how property ownership required skills and resources beyond what he'd initially understood. When I explained the decision-making process behind covering costs that exceeded insurance settlements, he recognized the business judgment involved in maintaining long-term tenant relationships versus minimizing short-term expenses. I never realized that being a good landlord required this kind of strategic thinking, he said during one of our conversations about property management. I thought it was mostly about collecting rent and calling repair companies when things broke. His growing appreciation for the complexity of real estate investment helped bridge some of the remaining gaps in family understanding about my career choice. Rather than viewing property ownership as passive income generation, Dad began recognizing it as an active business that required ongoing attention and decision-making skills. The success of our collaboration during the water damage crisis encouraged Victoria and me to explore more integrated approaches to building and business improvements. When she identified the need for upgraded kitchen ventilation to support expanded baking operations, we worked together to design a solution that would benefit both current operations and future property value. The ventilation project required significant coordination with city building departments, contractor scheduling, and operational planning to minimize disruption to bakery service. Victoria managed the operational aspects while I handled permitting and contractor relationships, creating a division of responsibilities that leveraged our different areas of expertise. This is so much easier than trying to coordinate building improvements through a traditional landlord, Victoria observed as we reviewed progress on the ventilation installation. When the landlord actually understands your business needs and has reasons to prioritize your success, everything moves faster and works better. The project's completion enhanced both the bakery's production capabilities and the building's mechanical systems in ways that would benefit future tenants as well as current operations. Victoria could now handle larger catering orders and extended operating hours, while the improved ventilation system added value that would justify higher rents if we ever needed to lease the space to different tenants. Our collaborative approach to building improvements began attracting attention from other local business owners who were struggling with unresponsive landlords or inadequate facilities. Sarah Chen, who owned a small accounting practice 3 blocks away, asked detailed questions about how our arrangement worked when she was considering relocating to find better office space. It sounds like you've created the ideal situation for a small business owner, she said after I explained how Victoria and I coordinated on operational needs and building improvements. Having a landlord who's invested in your success rather than just collecting rent makes such a difference for long-term planning. Her interest in our model suggested that there might be broader market demand for the kind of landlord-tenant partnership we'd developed. Other small business owners were experiencing similar frustrations with traditional rental arrangements that didn't provide adequate support for business growth and operational needs. The conversation with Sarah sparked discussions between Victoria and me about whether our collaborative approach could be replicated with other tenants or potential tenants. If we could attract business owners who valued responsive property management and integrated support for their operations, we might be able to command premium rents while providing superior value compared to conventional commercial space. We should definitely consider this when we're evaluating the second building, Victoria suggested. If we could create a small business community where tenants support each other's success and the landlord facilitates collaboration, that might be more valuable than just having individual businesses paying rent independently. Her vision for a more integrated approach to commercial property management aligned with ideas I'd been developing about how real estate investment could create value beyond simple rental income collection. By actively supporting tenant success and facilitating business growth, property owners could potentially generate higher returns while building stronger, more stable tenant relationships. The autumn months brought new opportunities to test our collaborative model when David expressed interest in leaving his teaching position to work full-time in the bakery business. His background in education and coaching gave him skills in training and team development that could enhance Victoria's ability to expand operations and maintain service quality during busy periods. I've been thinking about this transition for months, David explained during a family dinner where he outlined his plans. Teaching is rewarding, but the bakery offers more potential for growth and creativity. Plus, working with Victoria to build something together appeals to me more than staying in the school system. His decision to join the bakery full-time represented a significant expansion of the family business that would require additional space, equipment, and operational planning. Victoria had been considering hiring additional staff to handle increased demand, but having David's dedicated involvement would allow for more strategic growth rather than simply adding hourly employees. The transition planning process gave us another opportunity to demonstrate how property ownership could facilitate business evolution. David's role would require dedicated office space for administrative tasks and customer consultations, which we could create by reconfiguring the building's layout to better support expanded operations. Having control over the building design means we can adapt the space to support whatever direction the business needs to grow, I explained to David as we walked through potential office configurations. With a traditional landlord, you'd be limited to whatever modifications they were willing to approve and finance. The office renovation project proceeded smoothly because we could coordinate all aspects internally rather than negotiating with separate parties about design approval, construction scheduling, and cost allocation. David's office was completed within 6 weeks, providing him with professional space for meeting with wholesale clients and managing the administrative aspects of business expansion. His integration into the bakery operations proved highly successful, with his teaching skills translating effectively to staff training and customer service improvement. Within 3 months of joining full-time, customer satisfaction scores had increased noticeably, and employee turnover had decreased as David implemented more structured training programs and team-building activities. David's background brings a completely different perspective to business operations, Victoria told me during one of our regular planning meetings. He thinks systematically about process improvement and team development in ways that complement my focus on food quality and customer service. The success of David's transition encouraged us to think more strategically about how the combined skills of all family members could enhance both the property investment and business operations sides of our enterprises. Dad's experience with small business financial management, Mom's customer service skills, and even my real estate analysis capabilities could potentially be leveraged more effectively through closer coordination. The winter months provided time for reflection and planning as both the bakery and property management businesses settled into sustainable operational rhythms. Our first full year of open collaboration had exceeded expectations in both financial performance and family relationship improvement. The bakery's revenue had grown by 43% since the space expansion and operational improvements, while customer retention rates and average transaction values showed consistent upward trends. The building's rental income remained stable with no vacancy issues, and the property's appraised value had increased due to improvements and strong tenant performance. More importantly, the integration of our different business interests had created opportunities and capabilities that neither Victoria nor I could have achieved independently. Her operational expertise enhanced my property's value and tenant satisfaction, while my building ownership provided her with operational flexibility and growth opportunities that competitors in leased spaces couldn't match. We've proven that family business partnerships can work when everyone brings different skills and respects each other's areas of expertise, Victoria reflected during our year-end planning session. I was worried initially that mixing family and business relationships might create problems, but it's actually strengthened both. Her observation captured the unexpected benefits of our collaboration. Rather than complicating family dynamics, our business partnership had provided new ways to appreciate and support each other's professional capabilities, while creating shared goals that aligned our individual interests. The success of our first year working together openly positioned us well for more ambitious expansion projects and deeper integration of our business operations. The second building opportunity that Sandra had identified earlier was still available, and our proven ability to collaborate effectively on complex projects made the investment seem more feasible and less risky. I think we're ready to move forward with the second location, I told Victoria as we reviewed financial projections for expanding into additional commercial real estate. Our track record shows that we can handle the operational complexity of coordinating property management with business expansion. Victoria's enthusiasm for the expansion project reflected her growing confidence in our partnership model and her vision for building a more substantial business operation. I've been developing recipes and operational procedures that would work well in a second location, she said. Having proven systems and experienced management makes expansion much more realistic than it would have been trying to grow within a single leased space. The preliminary planning for our second location revealed how much our business relationship had evolved since my initial building ownership revelation. We were now thinking strategically about long-term growth opportunities, market positioning, and competitive advantages rather than simply trying to figure out how to handle an unexpected family business situation. Our discussions with attorneys and accountants about structuring the expansion confirmed that we'd developed a genuine business partnership that could support significant growth while protecting both family relationships and individual financial interests. The legal and tax implications were complex, but the underlying business model was sound and scalable. You've created something valuable that goes beyond either real estate investment or food service, our business attorney observed during one of our consultation meetings. The integrated approach to property ownership and business operations provides competitive advantages that would be difficult for other market participants to replicate. His assessment validated our sense that we'd developed something unique and potentially valuable beyond our immediate family business interests. The model we'd created through necessity and trial and error might have broader application for other family businesses or small business communities. As we moved forward with expansion planning, both Victoria and I felt grateful for the unexpected journey that had brought us to this point. The secrecy about my real estate investments that had once created distance between us had ultimately led to a business partnership that was enhancing both our professional success and our personal relationship. The challenges we'd faced during our first year of open collaboration had taught us valuable lessons about communication, boundary setting, and the importance of maintaining professional standards even within family business relationships. These lessons would serve us well as we embarked on more complex expansion projects that would test our partnership in new ways. The foundation we'd built through honest communication, mutual respect for each other's expertise, and shared commitment to both business success and family harmony positioned us well for whatever opportunities or challenges the future might bring. Our partnership had evolved from an unexpected family situation into a strategic business relationship that was creating value for everyone involved. Looking ahead to our second year of formal collaboration, we felt confident that our model could support continued growth while maintaining the family connections and individual independence that were important to both of us. The success of our first year had proven that family business partnerships could work when based on complementary skills, clear communication, and genuine respect for each other's contributions. The evening when we signed the purchase agreement for our second building marked a milestone in both our business development and our evolution as family partners. We were no longer simply sisters who had figured out how to handle an unexpected landlord-tenant situation. We had become business partners whose different strengths created opportunities that neither could have pursued independently. The future held exciting possibilities as we continued exploring how to leverage our combined expertise in service of shared goals while maintaining the individual identity and independence that had made our partnership successful. The second bakery location was just the beginning of what could become a more comprehensive approach to building long-term family wealth through integrated real estate and business operations. Our journey from secret real estate investor and family business successor to open business partners had taught us both valuable lessons about the importance of honest communication, mutual respect, and finding ways to align different interests in service of shared success. Most importantly, it had shown us that family support could take many different forms, including business partnerships that create mutual benefits while respecting individual strengths and independence. As we prepared to embark on our next expansion project, both Victoria and I looked forward to continuing the development of our unique business relationship. The combination of her operational expertise and my real estate investment capabilities had created something valuable that was enhancing both our professional success and our family connections in ways we'd never anticipated when this journey began. The confrontation I'd been unconsciously preparing for arrived on a Tuesday morning in March, when Victoria called me with panic evident in her voice. She'd just received notice that our building had been selected for a comprehensive city inspection as part of Sacramento's new commercial property compliance program. The inspection would cover everything from electrical systems to fire safety, protocols, accessibility compliance, and business licensing verification. Rachel, they want to review all the building permits, tenant agreements, and safety certifications dating back 5 years, Victoria explained, her voice tight with stress. They're also requiring interviews with the property owner and all tenants about building management practices and any code violations or safety concerns. The inspection represented our first major external challenge that would test whether our family business partnership could withstand official scrutiny and bureaucratic pressure. While I was confident that the building met all required standards, the investigation would inevitably reveal the timeline of ownership changes and potentially raise questions about our family relationships affecting business operations. Don't worry about this, I assured Victoria. The building is in excellent condition, all our permits are current, and we've exceeded code requirements on every improvement we've made. The inspection might actually validate how well we've been managing the property together. Despite my confident words to Victoria, I spent the next several days reviewing every document related to the building's ownership, maintenance records, and tenant relationships. The property management company had maintained meticulous files, but I wanted to ensure that nothing would surprise us during the official review process. The inspection team arrived the following week, consisting of 3 city officials representing building safety, business licensing, and accessibility compliance departments. They spent 4 hours examining every aspect of the building's physical condition, reviewing documentation, and conducting separate interviews with each tenant and myself as the property owner. The lead inspector, Maria Santos, proved to be thorough, but fair in her evaluation process. She praised the recent renovations and improvements, noting that many commercial buildings of similar age had deferred maintenance issues that our property didn't exhibit. It's clear that this building has received consistent attention and investment, she observed, while reviewing our renovation permits and contractor certifications. The electrical upgrades and ventilation improvements exceed current code requirements, which suggests proactive management rather than reactive compliance. Her positive assessment of the building's condition was gratifying, but the real test came during the interviews about property management practices and tenant relationships. The inspectors wanted to understand how decisions were made about building improvements, how tenant concerns were addressed, and whether all parties felt that lease terms and building management were handled fairly and professionally. Victoria's interview apparently went well, as she later reported that the inspectors seemed impressed with her detailed knowledge of building systems and her positive assessment of landlord responsiveness to business needs. Mrs. Liu provided equally favorable feedback about property management practices and the speed of maintenance response during the water damage incident. My own interview with the inspection team focused primarily on property management procedures, financial stability, and compliance with all applicable regulations. The inspectors asked detailed questions about how I'd learned commercial property management, whether I used professional property management services, and how I handled conflicts of interest given my family relationship with one of the major tenants. We want to ensure that all tenants receive equal treatment regardless of personal relationships, Inspector Santos explained. Sometimes family connections can create situations where some tenants receive preferential treatment, while others feel neglected or overcharged. I explained our approach to maintaining professional standards in all tenant relationships, the role of our property management company in handling routine operations, and the documented procedures we followed for maintenance requests, lease negotiations, and building improvements. I also provided examples of how we'd handled situations like the water damage incident, where family relationships could have affected decision-making. Our goal has been to exceed professional standards precisely because family relationships could create complications, I told the inspection team. We've established clear procedures and documentation requirements that ensure every tenant receives consistent, professional service regardless of personal connections. The inspection concluded with the team requesting additional documentation about our expansion project and future building modification plans. They wanted to ensure that any upcoming changes would comply with current codes and wouldn't negatively impact other tenants or neighborhood businesses. 2 weeks later, we received the official inspection report, which praised the building's condition and management practices, while noting no significant violations or areas of concern. The report specifically mentioned the proactive approach to building improvements and the positive tenant feedback about property management responsiveness. This property demonstrates excellent stewardship and professional management practices, the report concluded. The building exceeds current safety and accessibility standards, and tenant interviews indicate high satisfaction with landlord responsiveness and fair treatment. The favorable inspection outcome provided external validation of our family business partnership that was perhaps more meaningful than our internal success measures. Independent city officials had evaluated our collaboration and found it not just acceptable, but exemplary in terms of professional standards and fair treatment of all parties. Victoria's relief was evident when we celebrated the inspection results, over dinner at our parents' house. I was worried that having family connections might make us look unprofessional or raise questions about whether everything was being handled properly, she admitted. Having city inspectors praise our management practices feels like proof that we really have created something special. Dad's reaction to the inspection success revealed how much his understanding of my real estate investment activities had evolved over the months since my initial revelation. Rather than viewing the favorable report as surprising good luck, he recognized it as evidence of skilled property management and thoughtful business planning. These inspectors see commercial properties all over the city, he pointed out. For them to specifically praise your building's condition and management practices means you're doing something right that other property owners are missing. The inspection success coincided with our final negotiations for purchasing the second building, which would house Victoria's expanded bakery operations and provide additional rental income from other commercial tenants. The favorable city report strengthened our position with lenders and provided additional credibility for our business model. The second building purchase closed in May, with Victoria and David immediately beginning renovation planning for the new bakery location. The larger space would allow for wholesale operations, expanded catering services, and a full-service cafe with extended hours that our current location couldn't accommodate. This feels like the next logical step in everything. "We've been building," Victoria said as we walked through the empty space that would become her second location. "Having proven that our collaboration model works gives me confidence that we can scale it successfully." The renovation project for the second location was significantly more complex than our first building improvements, requiring complete kitchen design, dining area construction, and coordination between multiple contractors over several months. Victoria managed the operational planning while I handled permitting, contractor relationships, and building system coordination. Our experience working together on the first building's improvements proved invaluable during the more complex second location project. We'd developed communication patterns and decision-making processes that allowed us to handle the increased complexity without the confusion or conflict that might have emerged during our earlier collaboration attempts. The second bakery location opened in September to enthusiastic community response. The larger space and expanded menu attracted customers from across the metropolitan area, while the wholesale operations began supplying local restaurants and coffee shops with artisanal breads and pastries. "We're serving customers who drive 20 minutes just to visit our new location," Victoria reported during our first month of operations review. The combination of larger space, expanded menu, and the cafe atmosphere has created something different from traditional bakeries in the area. The success of the second location validated our expansion strategy and demonstrated that our family business partnership could support complex growth initiatives. More importantly, it proved that our collaborative model was scalable and could potentially support additional expansion opportunities in the future. Mom's perspective on our business partnership had evolved dramatically since my initial building ownership revelation. Her early concerns about family relationships affecting professional judgment had been replaced by pride in watching her daughters build something substantial together. "Watching you girls work as a team has been one of the most rewarding experiences of my life," she told me during a quiet conversation while Victoria and David managed the dinner rush at the new location. "You found a way to support each other's strengths while building something bigger than either of you could have created alone." Her observation captured the essence of what our partnership had become. Rather than simply figuring out how to handle an unexpected family business situation, we'd created a collaborative model that enhanced both our individual capabilities and our shared success. The financial results from our first full year of openly integrated operations exceeded our most optimistic projections. The original bakery location's revenue had increased by 62%, while the new location was generating strong cash flow within its first quarter of operations. My real estate portfolio now included 4 profitable properties with no vacancy issues and consistent appreciation in market value. More significantly, our combined businesses had created value and opportunities that neither Victoria nor I could have achieved working independently. Her operational success enhanced my property values and opened new investment opportunities, while my real estate ownership provided her with operational flexibility and expansion capabilities that competitors couldn't match. "We've built something that's greater than the sum of its parts," Victoria reflected during our year-end planning session. "The real estate success supports the business expansion, and the business success drives the property values. Everything reinforces everything else." The integration of our different business interests had also strengthened our family relationships in ways we'd never anticipated. Working together on complex projects had given us deeper appreciation for each other's professional capabilities while creating shared goals that aligned our individual interests. Dad's evolution from skeptical parent to supportive business advisor demonstrated how our success had influenced broader family dynamics. He now regularly consulted both of us about financial planning decisions and had begun considering his own real estate investment opportunities based on strategies I'd shared with him. "I underestimated both of your business capabilities," he admitted during one of our family dinners. "Rachel, I didn't understand that real estate investment required the analytical skills you've developed. Victoria, I didn't realize how much strategic thinking was involved in scaling a food service business. Watching you work together has taught me things about business that I never learned in 20 years of running the original bakery." His acknowledgement meant more to both of us than any external recognition we'd received. Having our father recognize and respect our professional judgment represented the complete transformation of family dynamics that had begun with my building ownership revelation. The success of our business partnership had attracted attention from other family-owned businesses in Sacramento, who were interested in understanding how we'd managed to integrate different business interests while maintaining family relationships. Several business owners asked for advice about handling succession planning, property ownership decisions, and family member involvement in business operations. "You figured out something that most family businesses struggle with," observed Carlos Mendoza, who owned a successful landscaping company and was considering bringing his children into the business. "Most families either keep business and personal relationships completely separate, or they let family dynamics interfere with professional decisions. You've found a middle ground that seems to strengthen both." His comment highlighted the broader significance of what Victoria and I had accomplished. We'd created a family business model that respected individual expertise while leveraging shared interests to create mutual benefits. The approach might have applications for other families facing similar challenges about business succession, property ownership, or collaborative expansion. As we planned for our second year of formal business partnership, both Victoria and I felt confident that our model could support continued growth while maintaining the individual independence and family connections that were important to both of us. We'd proven that family business relationships could work when based on complementary skills, honest communication, and genuine respect for each other's contributions. The evening when we signed our formal partnership agreement for future expansion, projects marked the completion of our transformation from secret real estate investor and family business successor to full business partners. The legal documentation reflected the trust and mutual respect we developed through months of successful collaboration on increasingly complex projects. "This partnership agreement makes official what we've already proven works in practice," our business attorney observed as we reviewed the final documents. "You've created a framework that protects both individual interests and shared goals while providing structure for continued growth and evolution." Looking back on the journey from my secret building ownership to our current partnership, the most valuable lesson had been about the importance of honest communication and mutual respect in any family business relationship. The secrecy that had initially seemed necessary to protect family relationships had actually created barriers that prevented my family from understanding and supporting my professional goals. The revelation of my real estate success had been challenging for everyone involved, but it had ultimately led to stronger family connections and business opportunities that none of us could have anticipated. Victoria had gained a business partner whose skills complemented her own, while I had found ways to integrate my real estate investments with meaningful family business collaboration. Our success had also demonstrated that family support could take many different forms. Sometimes, the most valuable way to help family members achieve their dreams was to quietly build infrastructure that enhanced their opportunities, even if the support wasn't immediately visible or understood by the people being helped. The combination of Victoria's operational expertise and my real estate investment capabilities had created something unique and valuable that was enhancing both our professional success and our family relationships. Our partnership model respected individual strengths while creating shared opportunities that neither of us could have pursued independently. As we prepared for continued expansion and exploration of new opportunities, both Victoria and I felt grateful for the unexpected path that had brought us to this point. The challenges we'd faced during our transition from family members with separate career paths to business partners had taught us valuable lessons about communication, boundary setting, and the importance of maintaining professional standards even within family relationships. The future held exciting possibilities as we continued developing our unique business model and exploring how our combined expertise could create value in ways that purely individual efforts never could have achieved. Our journey from secret, real estate investor and family business successor to open business partners had proven that family relationships could be sources of strength and opportunity when approached with honesty, respect, and genuine commitment to mutual success. The foundation we'd built through trial, error, honest communication, and gradually improving collaboration positioned us well for whatever challenges or opportunities might arise in the coming years. Our partnership had evolved into something that was creating value for everyone involved, while maintaining the individual identity and family connections that were important to both of us. Most importantly, our success had shown that family business partnerships could work when all parties brought different skills to the relationship and maintained respect for each other's areas of expertise. The integration of our different business interests had created opportunities and capabilities that neither Victoria nor I could have achieved independently, while strengthening rather than complicating our family relationships. The transformation of our family dynamics reached its most profound moment during the holidays that year, when extended relatives gathered at our parents' house and witnessed firsthand how Victoria and I had evolved from sisters with separate career paths into genuine business partners. The conversations around the dinner table no longer included awkward questions about my future plans or well-meaning suggestions about more traditional career choices. Instead, cousins and aunts asked detailed questions about our expansion strategies, real estate investment opportunities, and the lessons we'd learned about combining family relationships with professional partnerships. Uncle Roberto, who had once offered me entry-level work at his auto repair shop, now sought advice about purchasing the building that housed his business. "I've been watching what you and Victoria have accomplished," he said during a quiet moment in the kitchen while we prepared coffee for dessert. "The control and security you've created by owning your business location has me thinking about my own situation differently. I've been paying rent for 15 years when I could have been building equity." His shift in perspective reflected broader changes in how our entire extended family viewed real estate investment and business ownership strategies. Rather than seeing property investment as something only wealthy people could pursue, relatives began understanding it as a tool for building long-term security and enhancing existing business operations. The holiday gathering also provided an opportunity for Victoria and me to announce our next major expansion project together. We'd been quietly negotiating to purchase a third building in the rapidly developing Midtown district, with plans to create Sacramento's first artisanal food hall, featuring multiple small vendors alongside an expanded version of our bakery concept. The food hall model allows us to support other small food businesses while creating a destination that draws customers from across the region, Victoria explained to the gathered family. Rachel's expertise in commercial real estate development gives us the foundation to create something that individual food vendors could never afford to develop independently. The announcement generated excitement and pride from family members, who had witnessed our journey from my secret real estate activities to our current collaborative success. Dad's response was particularly meaningful, as he had evolved from skepticism about both of our unconventional approaches to genuine enthusiasm for our innovative business strategies. 2 years ago, I thought Rachel was wasting her education on unrealistic investment schemes, he admitted to the group. I thought Victoria was limiting herself by focusing only on the family bakery instead of pursuing broader business opportunities. Watching them work together has taught me that I was thinking too narrowly about what success could look like. His public acknowledgement of how wrong his initial assessments had been represented the complete transformation of family dynamics that had begun with my building ownership revelation. The daughter who had once been viewed as drifting without clear direction was now recognized as the strategic partner who had created the foundation for family business expansion. Mom's emotional response to our food hall announcement revealed how deeply our success had affected her understanding of family business possibilities. "I spent so many years worrying that you girls were too different to work together effectively," she said, her voice catching slightly. Rachel was always the independent one who went her own way, while Victoria was the responsible one who followed established plans. I never imagined that those different approaches could complement each other so perfectly. Her observation captured something essential about our partnership that even Victoria and I had taken time to fully appreciate. Our different personalities and business approaches, which had once seemed like evidence of incompatibility, had actually provided the foundation for a more comprehensive and successful business strategy than either of us could have developed independently. The food hall project represented the natural evolution of everything we'd learned about combining real estate development with food service operations. Victoria's expertise in commercial kitchen design and food service management would ensure that vendor spaces were optimally configured for success, while my experience with property acquisition and tenant relations would create the overall framework for the development. This project brings together everything we've learned about creating environments where small businesses can thrive, I explained to Sandra Henderson when she asked about our development strategy. "We're not just providing rental space. We're creating a comprehensive support system that helps food entrepreneurs succeed while generating sustainable returns for property investors." Sandra's enthusiasm for our food hall concept reflected the broader recognition our partnership model was receiving within Sacramento's business community. Local economic development officials had begun citing our collaboration as an example of how family businesses could drive neighborhood revitalization and support entrepreneurship. The planning process for the food hall required coordination between architects, city planning departments, potential vendors, and financing sources. That was significantly more complex than our previous projects. Victoria managed the food service and vendor recruitment aspects, while I handled property development and financing negotiations, creating a division of responsibilities that leveraged our respective areas of expertise. Working on this scale feels natural because we've already proven our ability to coordinate complex projects successfully, Victoria observed during one of our planning sessions with the architectural team. "The food hall is bigger and more complicated than anything we've done before, but the collaborative process feels familiar and manageable." Her confidence in our ability to handle the increased complexity reflected how much our working relationship had matured since my initial building ownership revelation. We developed communication patterns and decision-making processes that could adapt to projects of any scale while maintaining the mutual respect and clear boundaries that made our partnership effective. The financing negotiations for the food hall project provided another opportunity to demonstrate how our combined track record created advantages that neither of us could have achieved independently. Lenders were impressed with both the operational success of our existing bakery locations and the financial performance of my real estate portfolio, viewing our partnership as reducing risk rather than creating complications. Your collaboration brings together proven success in both commercial real estate management and food service operations, our commercial lender explained during the final loan approval meeting. That combination of expertise significantly reduces the investment risk compared to developers who only understand one aspect of the business model. The successful financing approval marked another milestone in our evolution from family members with separate career paths to recognized business partners whose collaboration was creating value that attracted external investment and community support. We were no longer just figuring out how to handle an unexpected family situation. We were building something substantial that was contributing to our local economy and business community. The construction phase of the food hall project began in early spring, with completion scheduled for late summer to capture the busy fall season when food traffic typically increased. Victoria spent considerable time working with potential vendors to understand their operational needs and ensure that each space would be optimally designed for their specific food concepts. The vendor relationships are just as important as the physical construction, she explained to me during one of our progress review meetings. We're not just landlords collecting rent. We're partners in helping each food business succeed because their success directly affects the overall success of the food hall concept. Her approach to vendor relations reflected the lessons we'd learned from our own landlord-tenant relationship and our observation of how property owners could either support or hinder small business success. By actively facilitating vendor success rather than simply providing space, we were creating a more sustainable and profitable business model. The food hall's opening day exceeded our most optimistic expectations, with lines of customers waiting to sample offerings from 12 different food vendors alongside our expanded bakery operations. Local food bloggers and restaurant critics praised both the quality of individual vendors and the overall atmosphere we'd created through thoughtful design and vendor curation. Sacramento's new Midtown Food Hall represents the kind of innovative development that enhances neighborhood character while supporting local entrepreneurship, wrote the food critic for Sacramento magazine. The combination of established operators like Martinez Family Bakery with emerging food concepts creates a dining destination that serves both daily neighborhood needs and special occasion visits. The positive media coverage and strong customer response validated our food hall concept while establishing our partnership as a recognized force in Sacramento's commercial development landscape. More importantly, the project's success demonstrated that our collaborative model could scale to support complex, high-visibility projects that created value for multiple stakeholders. Victoria's leadership of the food hall's daily operations showcased capabilities that extended far beyond traditional bakery management. Her ability to coordinate between different vendors, manage shared resources like seating and cleaning services, and maintain consistent quality standards across diverse food concepts demonstrated business skills that impressed both vendors and customers. Victoria has created something special here, observed Miguel Santos, who operated a successful taco stand within the food hall. She understands that our individual success depends on the overall success of the concept, so she actively helps each vendor optimize their operations rather than just collecting rent and hoping for the best. His comment reflected the vendor community's appreciation for Victoria's collaborative approach to property management, which prioritized collective success over simply maximizing individual rental income. This philosophy aligned with everything we'd learned about creating sustainable business relationships that generated long-term value for all parties involved. The food hall's success also created new opportunities for my real estate investment activities, as other property owners in the district began seeking advice about how to attract quality tenants and enhance property values through strategic improvements. The combination of our proven track record and innovative approach to commercial property development had established us as recognized experts in creating environments where small businesses could thrive. You've demonstrated something that many commercial property developers miss, commented Janet Liu, a city planning official who had overseen our permitting process. Most developers focus solely on maximizing rental income without considering how property design and management practices affect tenant success. Your approach creates value for everyone involved while building stronger, more sustainable business communities. Her observation captured the broader significance of what we'd accomplished through our partnership. Rather than simply succeeding in our individual business areas, we'd developed an approach to commercial real estate and food service operations that was contributing to broader community economic development. The financial results from our first year of food hall operations exceeded projections in every category. Vendor rental income, bakery revenue, and property appreciation all surpassed our conservative estimates, while customer satisfaction scores and vendor retention rates indicated strong long-term sustainability for the concept. More significantly, the food hall's success had created a template for replicating our model in other locations or with different types of small business communities. Several other cities had reached out for consultation about developing similar projects, while local investors were expressing interest in funding expansion opportunities. We've proven that the combination of strategic real estate investment and collaborative business operations can create value that extends far beyond traditional property ownership or food service, Victoria reflected during our annual planning retreat. The model we've developed could potentially be applied to different types of businesses in different markets. Her vision for expanding our collaborative approach reflected how much our partnership had evolved since my initial building ownership. Revelation. We were no longer simply sisters who had figured out how to work together successfully. We'd become business innovators whose methods were attracting attention and creating opportunities for broader impact. The recognition our partnership was receiving also strengthened our family relationships in ways that extended beyond business success. Dad had become genuinely interested in real estate investment principles and had begun building his own small property portfolio based on strategies I'd shared with him. Mom had started consulting with us about potential business opportunities for other family members who were interested in entrepreneurship. Watching you girls build something substantial together has changed how our entire family thinks about business and success, Mom observed during one of our regular family dinners. You've shown that different approaches and personalities can complement each other instead of creating conflict, and that family relationships can actually enhance business success when handled thoughtfully. Her comment highlighted the broader lessons our partnership had provided about family dynamics and business collaboration. The success we'd achieved hadn't come from suppressing our different personalities or approaches, but from finding ways to leverage our differences as complementary strengths. As we planned for continued expansion and exploration of new opportunities, both Victoria and I felt grateful for the unexpected journey that had brought us to this point. The secrecy about my real estate investments that had once created distance between us had ultimately led to a business partnership that was enhancing both our professional success and our family relationships in ways we'd never anticipated. The challenges we'd faced during our transition from separate career paths to integrated business partners had taught us valuable lessons about communication, boundary setting, and the importance of maintaining individual identity even within collaborative relationships. These lessons were proving valuable as we considered how to scale our model and potentially mentor other family businesses facing similar challenges. Our success had also demonstrated that family support could take many different forms, including business partnerships that created mutual benefits while respecting individual strengths and independence. The validation we'd both sought from our family had ultimately come through demonstrating our capabilities rather than through explanations or justifications. The foundation we'd built through honest communication, mutual respect, and gradual development of trust and collaboration positioned us well for whatever opportunities or challenges might arise in the future. Our partnership had evolved into something that was creating value for everyone involved while maintaining the individual identity and family connections that were important to both of us. Looking ahead to our third year of formal business partnership, we felt confident that our model could continue supporting growth while preserving the collaborative spirit and family harmony that had made our success possible. We'd proven that family business relationships could work when based on complementary skills, clear communication, and genuine respect for each other's contributions. The evening when we celebrated the food hall's first anniversary marked the completion of our transformation from secret real estate investor and family business successor to recognized business innovators whose methods were being studied and replicated by others. Our journey had proven that sometimes the most valuable gifts family members could give each other were opportunities to demonstrate capabilities that might otherwise remain hidden or underappreciated. Most importantly, our success had shown that family relationships could be sources of strength and opportunity when approached with honesty, respect, and genuine commitment to mutual success. The integration of our different business interests had created something greater than the sum of its parts, while strengthening rather than complicating our family connections. The story of how my secret building ownership had evolved into a thriving business partnership demonstrated that sometimes the best way to support family dreams was to quietly build infrastructure that enhanced opportunities, even if the support wasn't immediately visible or understood. Our collaboration had created a foundation that was enabling success for not just Victoria and me, but for the dozens of small business owners who were thriving within the environments we'd created. As we continued developing our unique business model and exploring new ways to combine real estate investment with collaborative business operations, both Victoria and I remained committed to the principles that had made our partnership successful: honest communication, mutual respect for different expertise areas, and shared commitment to creating value for everyone involved in our business ecosystem. The future held exciting possibilities as we considered how our proven model might be adapted for different types of businesses, different markets, or different family situations. Our journey from secret real estate investor and family business successor to successful business partners had shown that family relationships could enhance, rather than complicate, professional success when approached with the right combination of honesty, respect, and strategic thinking. The foundation we'd built together was creating opportunities not just for our own continued success, but for the many small business owners, family members, and community partners who had become part of our expanding network of collaborative business relationships. Our partnership had proven that success could be measured not just by individual achievement, but by the value created for others through thoughtful business development and genuine commitment to mutual success. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out.